Hey Bat fans, Luke here, ready to chat about another Bat book, and this is another one of those ones that not too many people talk about, maybe for good reasons in this case, but still, still want to kind of give some thoughts about it. And it's Batman: The Joker's Last Laugh, which includes in this trade the six-issue miniseries that came out early 2000s, 2000, 2001, 2002, somewhere floating around in there. Written by Chuck Dixon with a bunch of artists. And if I remember right, while there was no direct specific tie-in issues like name only, the Joker's last laugh, Batman #1. I do remember there being some tie-in issues, specific in the Batman series. There was a tie-in issue. I remember the cover too being kind of like in the snow. You see toward the end of the book where this lab kind of pops up, which we'll save that for later. But mainly six-issue miniseries. Primarily, again, this is a Joker story, and as well as something that occurs within this, which delves into the Bat family as well. Batman himself barely shows up in this book. In total, maybe about 3 or 4 pages in this, comprehensively. But this is definitely a Joker story. And initially, as you're going through this, you're thinking that Oracle is kind of be the main central hero figure in this book. But it does kind of morph a little bit. It'll go from um, Barbara, Oracle, then it might morph over a little bit into Nightwing, and then you think it'll be Batman, but it'll go back to Nightwing. And in addition to that, there are these other Star Labs folks. Someone who guess who used to be, I can't remember the name. She, I think, SHI. That was a impromptu Mr. Miracle. Kind of goes in this, but so the central good guy or gal figures kind of morph around a little bit, but primarily this is a Joker story, done again by Chuck Dixon with a whole bunch of different writers. I'm sorry, with different artists, and what the general premise of the story is that the Joker's dying. The Joker has a brain tumor, and he knows his days are up. So what's he gonna do? Just like anything you would think the Joker's gonna do, he's gonna go out with a bang. And what he does, there's this place called, I think it's the Slab, that's run by Star Labs, and it has all these like C, D, even E list villains throughout the DC lore. The main or the bigger ones are mainly cameo beyond Joker. Uh, let's see, Killer Croc does like a cameo in this, but all the other villains are like, again, these are like C, D, E list villains. This one, Black Mask, you have Multiple Man. It just goes on and on. This is definitely a ruse. This is definitely not Batmite. I guess you would say Killer Frost would be another somewhat major villain that shows up here, but not really. Again, it's just the CDE villains. And what he's doing in this Star Labs, they call it the Slab, he incites a riot, and then what he does is eventually morph it to this riot, gets the Star Labs personnel release this toxin to kind of incapacitate all the inmates, but unbeknownst to them, Joker tweaked around with the toxin, and now it is nothing more than really just the Joker's toxin. And now all the inmates are now Jokerized, and now that facilitates Joker doing a breakout, which gets him out of incarceration. And what he wants to do is create a plan where he creates, much like we saw in All-Star Batman, where Two-Face kind of had this acid rain that was going to take out the people of Gotham. Well, Joker, what he's going to do here is going to create this rain that's going to come down and Jokerize everybody, and not only just in Gotham, but the world. And that's what he wants to do, and that's where we kind of enter the Bat family in this. Initially, this is a Barbara Gordon heavy protagonist, if you would. story in the beginning where it talks about an interesting concept that we've seen kind of before, in that, what if we would just sit there and just take the Joker out? Let's break our one rule. You take out one life, but you save a million, and maybe, or hundreds of thousands. In doing so, lives will be saved if we just take out this one. And you see in the beginning, Dick Grayson's kind of like, that's it goes against what we stand for. That's revenge, and he kind of talks him off the ledge, but it just really goes into a brief study into Barbara Gordon's obsession with the Joker, obviously because what the Joker did to her, and in doing so, she always keeps tabs of him, what's going on while he's incarcerated, and that's what she finds out about what's happening. Again, there's a little bit more to it than that, but it's just really that kind of fear that Barbara always has with the Joker character in this. But you do kind of morph into something else, where we kind of sway into more of a Nightwing protagonist-centric story in this, in that it looks like Tim Drake was killed while going into Arkham to go after the Joker, and that's when Killer Croc. It looks like Killer Croc killed Robin, and it was kind of nothing directly. Just that Tim Drake went after the Joker in Arkham, but in doing so, again, he was initially captured by Killer Croc, and you see something that initially makes you believe, which kind of is what it is. You kind of figure if it was real, as you see there's Killer Croc, Jokerized, by the way, by Robin. But you see, if I can find it, as you see, it looks like Tim Drake's skull and bones and tattered uniform are laying in the swamp with waters, which now obviously ticks off Nightwing. Now Nightwing kind of has that moment of clarity that he's got to go after Joker, but now is he the person? Is he willing to sit there and cross that line? Again, he initially thinks his brother was killed at the hands of the Joker, and this can't stand. And this ultimately leaves a bunch of members of the Bat family, which includes Barbara Gordon, was kind of weird in this, because she felt the same exact thing in the beginning, to kind of make sure Nightwing doesn't kind of go over the edge in this. While this is going on, you kind of have all these Star Lab folks kind of trying to track everything down, because when Joker did his escape, this character in Blast Mask, and we'll just call him Multiple Man. There's another one, which every time he dies, he gets a different power. What they did was the slab place. It's gonna sound cringy, but literally that's what happened. They kind of imploded itself and put itself into another dimension type of thing, and so now it's the Star Lab show trying to get everything back to where it was. In the end, it kind of does wrap up in that you see Harley Quinn kind of get involved, in addition to Kirk Langstrom kind of help create this anti-serum to kind of counteract the Joker toxin. But we do find out that at a certain point, if people were Jokerized, I think it was beyond 48 hours, they don't make it, they're going to die. But if they can get them before that, the serum will help cure them and all that good stuff. And that's basically the gist. There is a twist, in that there was the doctor who actually diagnosed Joker as having the brain tumor. Turned out it was a ruse. It was just a way to play a joke on the Joker. And obviously that joke horribly backfired and caused this other stuff. Lex Luthor is in this. He's the president, and obviously President of the United States, and now he also got the military going after the Joker, and some of these Jokerized villains that are causing havoc throughout. And that's the premise of the story. Again, it kind of wraps up at the end with Nightwing and Black Canary and Tim Drake, and even Batman at the end getting the Joker and kind of bringing order back to the world and all this. Um, to be perfectly frank, uh, not really too much of a fan of this story. The premise was interesting. The Joker knows he's going to die. I mean, what's he going to do? He's going to go out with a bang. That, in concept, I liked the idea. It was more in the execution in this. Don't really. I think when it says Batman, the Joker's last laugh. Keep in mind this is before the pre-New 52, or I'm sorry, before the New 52, where they kind of switch it to wherever the title of that book, they kind of started naming the trades. So if it's, Batman, Death of the Family, all occurred in the pages of Batman. If it was, False Faces and Detective Comics, the book would literally be called Detective Comics, volume whatever, False Faces. So this one where it says Batman the Joker's last laugh, you kind of have to kind of take it in context of how they named the trades before the New 52, and don't really think of that much of a Batman-centric book. Well, it's more in the Batman universe, but definitely Batman's barely in this. The quick reversal of Barbara, the initial reaction we got from her is more I thought, kind of made sense, but just how she kind of turned so quickly and then seemed really contradictory, or quote, use a better term, more of a two-face, when Nightwing was literally going through the same thoughts. And then she's like, no, that's not what we do. But she was literally having the same thoughts about, killing Joker in the beginning. How that kind of role reversal kind of happened, it did seem kind of contrivable, if that's even the right word. It just seemed kind of off-putting. I did think Nightwing's voice throughout in this was good up until the very end, where he does kind of cross the line. I'm not going to spoil. He does kind of go past the point of no return, but his mistake does get kind of fixed. But the best part I like is this relationship that is kind of portrayed between him and Barbara throughout. It was really nice. Kind of harkened back to the good old days, which we're starting to see now in the current pages of Nightwing, when we had Ben Percy before he jumped ship. Kind of teased around a little bit with that relationship, also with in the current pages of Batgirl too, which is nice. Black Canary, and this was okay. It was alright. He had cameos again by Blue Beetle, did a cameo in this. A lot of this is just cameos. But one of the things, the two things that really just didn't sit right, mainly, well, maybe three. The Joker in this, I just didn't get, the Joker wasn't fleshed out a lot. He was in the beginning, but once we got past like issue 1, it just kind of weaned off a little bit, kind of morphed into other people and these, CDE-less villains that, to be honest, I really wasn't really well vested in. 2, I just didn't feel, this just felt almost a little bit too much like a Golden Age type of Joker, and just not my preferred favorite, I don't want to say take on the Joker, but it just didn't seem right. It just didn't, the way Joker portrayed here by Chuck Dixon just didn't seem right. Something seemed off. Again, the CDE list villains, I just wasn't invested in. I was like, meh, whatever. But the big thing, I think it was just a missed opportunity. It really was. Because the idea, Joker having a tumor, him thinking he was going to die, how he's going to go out, it was a good premise. It just fell flat. The art in this, again, this was, I hate to say typical 90s-ish art. It sort of was. It's Scott, what's his name? Scott McDaniel. This is around the time he did have his run on Batman, I think Detective with Ed Brubaker. He's not in this, but it does have his type of style in this to a degree. You can kind of just tell it's this way things are kind of pointy and angular and obtuse. Not as much like a Jay Lee, but it definitely has a Scott McDaniel type of feel to it, but it's not him. But it just has that era of art style, which was okay. It didn't bore me. It just definitely has that era of comic art feel to it. Yeah, that's really about it. I was a little disappointed in this one, to be honest. The first time I read it, got it on the cheap. I think I got it for like $9. Cover price of this was $17.99. I'd recommend this to those Bat fans that really want like all the Bat trades, your completionist. Okay, if you're a really die-hard Joker fan, okay. Beyond that, I really can't really recommend it. Uh, I'll give it a 2 out of 5. Below average. It is what it is. Kind of a bummer, but what are you gonna do? They're not all gonna be home runs. So anyway, hit me up in the comments below if you read this. If you had some better way of looking at it, give me a little bit more of a positive feedback on what's in the story. Maybe I missed. I'd appreciate it. If anything else, we'll just bat chat about this one, and we'll go from there. So until next video, take care.